hate the unvaccinated more than they hate murderers. There's no doubt, there's no question. If you judge people by their rhetoric and their behavior, there's no question about that. That is how sick, another example of how sick the left is. Morally and, well, what else matters? Morally sick. Let's see what the latest headline is about this case. This is from the Daily Mail. LA's woke DA George Gascon breaks his silence to say it's heartbreaking that Briana Kupfer was murdered while she worked after her father blamed liberal politicians for her death. Why was he out free? The man had a long record. Do you know that he shot, just, what was it, 2 years ago? When did he shot, this is an attempted murder, into a car that included a child. And he was arrested, and the record never came up. The more you know about this and so many of the other murders, it is that these people are unleashed by the left and the Democratic Party. That's what the father wouldn't say Democrat. I don't think the father even said liberal. LAPD has identified Sean Laval Smith. Of course, the unspoken here is that he's a black man, and I say unspoken because if a white man did this to a black woman, it would be national headlines. If a white policeman did this to a black man or woman, it would be national headlines. Whenever these murder stories come up, I don't seek them. When they come up on my MSN feed and Daily Mail, those are the two sources of, I mean, of course, the Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, LA, that same thing, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, I mean, and myriad websites. But that's where I have feeds, so to speak. Even though the Daily Mail has written moronic articles, truly moronic articles, like I lick spoons that fall on the floor in restaurants. And they have so many reporters that they report nonsense as well as truth. But anyway, it doesn't matter. LAPD has identified Sean Laval Smith. Oh, by the way, she texted, I think it was her sister. She texted, I think, her sister that she was a little uneasy being alone in this with this black man, not exactly dressed as if he had attended a banking seminar. Was that racist of her? When women clutch their purses, it is said, where did he even get a tenth of it? Who would post $50,000 on behalf of this man with such a rap sheet? Why is our criminal justice system criminal? Not because of so many minorities incarcerated, but because of so many criminals allowed on the street. That is a great difference between the left and the right. They think the criminal justice system incarcerates too many people, and we think the system incarcerates too few people. Okay, there you go. That is correct. And because of the left's view, a lot of innocent people, mostly black, are murdered. Not to mention, what is the latest spate on train robberies? This is like the 19th century. Career criminal has a lengthy rap sheet with arrests in Charlotte, South Carolina, and California. At the time of the murder, Smith was free on a $1,000 bond in LA for a misdemeanor. He also appears to have been on a $50,000 bond in Charleston, South Carolina on a shooting charge. That's the one, I think, where he shot into a vehicle with 3 people, including a baby. How is that possible? How is he out? You shoot into a car filled with people and you're out? Is anybody going to find out who screwed up? And here's the question we all know the answer to. Will anybody pay a price for this? The question was a joke. Police on Tuesday released chilling images of man thought to be Smith buying a vape pen after the slay. By the way, out of curiosity, those of you opposed to capital punishment, I'd like to know your heart. In your heart, do you think he deserves to live? Just curious. And the answer is probably yes. Because you reserve your anger to the unvaccinated. Ah, now there's a real villain. The sick world of the media. That's, by the way, that's true for the New York Times, LA Times, and Washington Post, where they reserve their hatred. It's for the unvaccinated, not for these people. You know the story of the 40-year-old woman who last week was out of nowhere just pushed onto the train tracks of the subway in New York, and of course killed by the impact of a subway car. How many people have been thrown onto the tracks and subways in the last year? I grew up in New York. Everybody stood at the edge looking over to see when the train was coming. Bet you nobody does that now. They probably all stand so far from the train, they don't move until it's actually at the station. Not coming into the station, at the station, stopped. Briana, 24, was working alone in the luxury furniture store Croft House in L.A. when she was murdered last week. She texted to a friend to say someone in the store was giving her a bad vibe. It was a friend, not a sister. Her suspected killer was spotted about 30 minutes later at a convenience store in the area. George Gascon says it's tragic and heartbreaking. Oh my God. Oh, this induces nausea in decent people. This indecent human being. These deaths, this staggering murder rate is a product of George Soros-funded district attorneys like Krasner in Philadelphia. Forgot the one's name in New York, and Gascon here, San Francisco. Yep. The bored man named George Soros doesn't know what to do with his billions. So he funds people who do not hate evil. You know my favorite verse in the Bible? Those of you who love God must hate evil. You don't hate evil, you don't love God. Anyway, Soros doesn't love God, so it's irrelevant. I'm sure Gascon hasn't thought of God recently. 1-8 Prager 776.
The Dennis Prager Show, live from the Live Factor pain-free studio.
Streaming on Salem Now.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery.
He said, listen, I gotta give these niggas enough. Not too much, but enough that I'll have them voting Democrat for the next 200 years.
The race grievance industry would have you believe that blacks get up and think about nothing else except race.
If I tell you this is racist, yeah, I would get you emotional.
There is a whole big cottage industry for racism. If racism went away, a lot of people would be unemployed.
The mob during the Minneapolis riots following the death of George Floyd. A bunch of white thugs, frankly, burning down the city's traditional black and Asian business district.
They're racist, 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 racist. Everything's racist. It's the devil!
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Fiance? No, I can't be your fiance.
You're gonna go. You're gonna be my fiance, and you're gonna be the most amazing, fascinating, most successful man ever. We're only gonna be there for a few hours, eat dinner, and I promise we'll have the best breakup of all time.
My baby, my princess. Oh, yeah. I'll beat a little bit.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
When I started teaching, I was only 25. I was only 7 years older than my students. That's not a great span of time. for between a man and a young woman, and it is a daily distraction.
That's right. It is. I thank you for your honesty. That is exactly right. And it is not his fault. He's built that way. It's no more his fault than food is a distraction to the hungry. Okay? There is no difference between the two. So I'll tell you an interesting story, really interesting. Many years ago, and I can't find this on the internet, maybe one of you can, and that would be of great help to me. I only remember that he was from a university in Indiana, but I don't remember which university. What did it say, Sean? So a professor did a study and found that one of the two groups, I don't remember the second, of men most likely to divorce were high school teachers. Hello, my friends. A quick reminder for you. Guys, I appreciate and respect Andrew and Todd at andrewandtodd.com of Sierra Pacific Mortgage. They give you, I like the wording, so I gotta give it to you specifically. It's a quick mortgage checkup. It's a very good term. You should have a checkup on your mortgage status. You might be paying too much. There's no obligation. Contact them. See how you are. They'll happily say, maybe not happily because they want your business, but they will honestly say, hey, you don't need a new loan. You're doing fine. Or they'll say, you know what, we could do better. You will save money. What's wrong with that? I trust these people. They're competent. They're decent men, good men. I really enjoyed my meeting with them. They've been advertising every single day since the beginning of lockdown. AndrewandTodd.com at Sierra Pacific Mortgage. So that's just go to there or call them at 888-1172, 888-888-1172, AndrewandTodd.com. Let's hear a clip from the president yesterday. By the way, I just wanted to know, we had a very quick discussion. My producer and I, not me and my producer. I know I'm like the boy holding back the waters of the Netherlands with his finger in the dike. You can't say me and my friends went to the store. You don't say me went to the store. My friends, we're all frightened of him for different reasons. I'm frightened of him because the only thing that he gets through harm America, like the first day in American presidential history. So I fear him because all he does is harm. Democrats fear him because all he does is harm their prospects for the midterm elections. So everybody fears him. There you go. So nobody watches him as a general rule. So I don't pay him much attention because there's nothing new to say except that he is 100% harmful to this country. But here's a clip just to satiate your curiosity. Please, Sean.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking of voting rights legislation, if this isn't passed, do you still believe the upcoming election will be fairly conducted and its results will be legitimate?
Well, it all depends on whether or not we're able to make the case to the American people that some of this is being set up to try to alter the outcome of the election.
Okay, there you go. So here you have a Trumpist claim by Biden. Will the New York Times attack him as incendiary, as invoking or inviting, I should say, and insurrection and sedition? Don't pass my bill, and I can't say that the next election will be honest. Oh my God. He's quite something. You know what the problem in America is? Something so good was made that the bored, the angry, just couldn't handle it. You know what progressives hate more than anything? Stability. Because it renders them unnecessary. Is that clear? When things are good, you don't need activists. That's their life. The life of an environmentalist, all of whom are wealthy. That's white women. Remember that? Oh, these poor things because the president had said. We shall return.
The Dennis Prager Show, live from the Relief Factor Pain-Free Studio.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America.
You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your job or shouted down.
You are not to be heard. This is one of the few things we have no precedent for in the United States.
You have the right to remain silent.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The Thomas, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
I was under constant attack. You're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. This is the wrong black guy. He has to be destroyed.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me,
but he's not. We all had something.
How many times have you heard that Israel occupies the West Bank? Have you ever asked yourself, is it true? Renowned law professor Eugene Pepperoni dives into this. Want to get the Prime Minister again from yesterday? Of Britain, not Mauritius. You often get those confused. Great to be with you, everybody. I enjoy being here. You ready with Boris? Since when do you call the Prime Minister of the UK Boris? Since yesterday? Oh, because you like him now. So it's really put the pressure on the European police states. Austria, the Netherlands, France. Now you know why Britain left the European Union? Because the European Union doesn't give a damn about liberty. That's why. The entire edifice of the European Union is led by Germany and France. And remember my old saw, I have a lot of rules of understanding life. Germany is always wrong. That's it. When you know that, you understand 50% of what you need to know about European history and Europe today. Germany is always wrong. There are a lot of wonderful individual Germans. This is not a statement about all Germans. For those of you who are intellectually confused by subtlety, it is just a statement. Germany is always wrong. Does that mean always as in never right? No. It is a generalized statement that if you had to bet your house on a German policy, the odds are overwhelming. It is wrong. They have been right on rare occasions. It's not even the broken clock because they're not right twice a day. Angela Merkel was a sweet fool. That's what she was. With the bringing in of vast numbers of people from the Middle East, which she did out of this fascinating thing of the human species, guilt. Germany has, to its credit, atoned to the extent that there's no full atonement possible for the staggering crime of the murder of nearly all the Jews of Europe. It's beyond belief what they did. Every baby that was a Jew was slaughtered. So Germany has decided, well, remember that line I gave? Instead of fighting evil, they learned that it is evil to fight. That's the stupid conclusion the Germans drew from the Holocaust and World War II. So they, out of guilt, well, we murdered all our Jews, so let's bring in 1 million people, many of whom hate Jews. That was genius. You have to be a German prime minister to think that way. And the West. If you hate Jews, you hate the West. And they go hand in hand. So, British said, we're out of here. The elites loathe Britain for doing that. But now you see the difference. How much time do we have? Can we hear the Prime Minister in the time remaining in this segment?
Expire. As a result, from the start of Thursday next week, mandatory
American doctor and the American medical profession has been self-immolated. The profession has burned itself. Wear masks. Wear masks. What a farce. What a total farce. So I wonder what Governor Newsom, a true moron, and I only say it because he's in a position of power. I never insult people who are not in power. What does he think of what Britain did? They're going to die now en masse, Governor Newsom? ReliefFactor.com. You know, I took it this morning. I can't get over the thing because I work out hard. It's the 3 worst hours of my week. And my muscles hurt. I take the thing, and then I'm fine. It's a miracle drug or pill or whatever you want to call it. Try it for 3 weeks. Doesn't work in 3 weeks, cancel the order because it works within 3 weeks or it doesn't work. You have muscle or joint pain. ReliefFactor.com. 3-week quick start, $20. ReliefFactor.com.
Salem Now.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery.
He said, listen, I gotta give these niggas enough. Not too much, but enough that I'll have them voting Democrat for the next 200 years.
The race grievance industry would have you believe that blacks get up and think about nothing else except race.
If I tell you this is racist, yeah, I would get you emotional.
There is a whole big cottage industry for racism. If racism went away, a lot of people would be unemployed.
The mob during the Minneapolis riots following the death of George Floyd. A bunch of white thugs, frankly, burning down the city's traditional black and Asian business district.
They're racist, 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 racist. Everything's racist.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Fiance? No, I can't be your fiance.
You're gonna go. You're gonna be my fiance, and you're gonna be the most amazing, fascinating, most successful man ever. We're only gonna be there for a few hours, eat dinner, and I promise we'll have the best breakup of all time.
My baby, my princess. Oh, yeah. I peed a little bit.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
When I started teaching, I was only 25. I was only 7 years older than my students. That's not a great span of time for between a man and a young woman, and it is a daily distraction.
That's right. It is. I thank you for your honesty. That is exactly right. And it is not his fault. He's built that way. It's no more his fault than food is a distraction to the hungry. Okay? There is no difference between the two. So I'll tell you an interesting story, really interesting. Many years ago, and I can't find this on the internet. Maybe one of you can, and that would be of great help to me. I only remember that he was from a university in Indiana, but I don't remember which university. What did it say, Sean? So a professor did a study and found that one of the two groups, I don't remember the second, of men most likely to divorce were high school teachers. So, hi everybody, Dennis Prager here. Everything I've told you about COVID turns out to have been accurate. and everything Fauci told you turns out to be false. Everything the New York Times, LA Times, CNN told you was false, and everything you heard from me was true. Just for the record, for example, lockdowns don't work. For example, masks are useless. And, for example, natural immunity is better than vaccine immunity. And that you're engaging in very risky behavior by vaccinating children. That a child is more likely to die of the vaccine than of COVID. These are all things I've said since the beginning when I called the lockdown the greatest mistake in history. And I made it clear I wasn't talking about the greatest evil. Okay, this is not the murder of 60 million people by Mao, or the Holocaust against the Jews, or or slavery. I mean, there are a lot of evils, but this was the greatest mistake, because buffoons run countries, and buffoons run health agencies. Buffoons. These people are not serious people. They're scared wimps. That's very bad to have them as leaders. Funny how Trump's instinct was not to wear a mask. Remember that? And he got clobbered. I thought that was a great model to Americans. Hey, I'm not scared. But the media, the children of scared parents, who else joins the media? Children of scared parents. Amazing. It's so interesting how, if you want to see the devolution of liberalism, not just leftism did not get worse. Leftism's always been evil. But the devolution of liberalism is the contempt for the Franklin Roosevelt famous line, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. That's literally accurate. That is the greatest thing we should have feared for the last 2 years. Not COVID. The greatest fear should have been fear. In the name of that fear, the amount of meanness and cruelty in the medical profession. You can't visit your dying parent. I thought masks worked. The head of Chase, Chase Bank? Is that the full name of it? Chase?
It's actually J.P. Morgan Chase.
J.P. Morgan. I knew there was a longer name. J.P. Morgan Chase will fire any employee anywhere in the country who does not get a vaccine. Starbucks will not insist that you get a vaccine. Individuals determine good and evil on this planet. The masses are sheep. They follow the leaders. It's very sad for me to say. It's just true. A lot of those sheep are sweet people. They're a sweet sheep. Look at Minnesota. But it's individuals who determine what happens. So the head of Starbucks says, I'm not going to fire you if you don't get vaccinated. The head of J.P. Morgan Chase, is he a bad man? Well, it's a tough call. God will have to assess that. But the ease with which these rich people deprive middle-class people of their incomes is a little disconcerting. We need to have a safe working environment. So let me understand something. For the last 2 years, these unvaccinated, have they killed anybody at J.P. Morgan Chase? All of a sudden, they're a death threat? Right? Isn't that what the claim is? Anybody firing people, it's power. You will listen to me, or I will deprive you of the ability to feed your family. How do you like that? I want nothing to do with J.P. Morgan Chase. Nothing. If there were blowback, he'd stop. It's hard to fight all the villains. I admit it. It really is. I acknowledge that. 1-8-Prager-776. You're going to have a safer workplace by firing people who didn't get vaccinated? Wait, why? It's been an unsafe place for the last 2 years? Answer that. Oh, and the lack of exception for those who had COVID, who are safer than the people vaccinated? The sleight of hand by changing the definition of vaccine in the last few months goes unreported, except if you actually listen to truth, which is conservative media. That's where you get so much more truth than at the Times, Post, and Tribune, and LA Times, and CNN. It's astonishing that we are the alternative media, the alternative to Pravda. You know that somebody gave me Pravda at a PragerU fundraiser recently. I think in Phoenix. Her dad subscribed to Pravda because he wanted to know what the enemy was writing. God, did it bring back nostalgia. I read Pravda every day. That's why I learned Russian. We'll be back in a moment. They are killing you and themselves. This is this piece of crap governor of California on television.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Schools are lining up to push the transgender agenda on kids and cut parents out of the equation.
Go to salemnow.com.
I grew up poor, which is even worse than being poor.
We would have sandwiches with no meat.
My American dream entailed working hard and making $20,000 a year. But I surpassed that goal and became a corporate CEO.
We'll all be able to say, free at last, free at last.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
You ever thought of going to seminary?
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I was under constant attack. You're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. This is the wrong black guy. He has to be destroyed.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
This is a story of how 1 million children were placed with local foster families. Parents from all walks of life share their stories of overcoming the one-child policy by taking in orphans.
At a time where there's so much negativity and cynicism, here's proof that a single leap of faith can change the world.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
How buoyed are you that Americans are finally waking up, JD?
Look, I'm very excited about what I'm seeing. Certainly in Virginia, but also in Ohio. It feels like there's a real grassroots movement brewing on the conservative movement right now. And it's, just like in times past, it's not just the politicos, it's not just the establishment folks. Sometimes not even people who are that political, but they're just very fired up about what their kids are teaching. Their kids are coming home crying, upset because they're being told that they're a bad person.
But does the societal effects of the unvaccinated. For example, if it's true that they utilize more hospital services and people who at large forego screenings for cancer and other ailments or surgeries, preventive surgeries. So those affect people, those affect everyone, the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. So if all those things are true.
Right. It's a very, very fair question. That's why I took your call. So my answer to you is a sad one. I don't believe anything they say anymore. The moment they said that having COVID does not provide immunity, that a vaccine is much better than natural immunity, and they lump those who had COVID with all the unvaccinated, I knew they're lying. And when I read the data from Israel and elsewhere, where they say it's not true that the unvaccinated are clogging hospitals, I assumed that American medicine, along with the media, are lying to me. If it were telling the truth, this would be a very legitimate issue that you raise.
But do we have to believe something, right? And
no, I don't believe anything. I must tell you, over the course of the last 2 years, I've just been lied to. So when they tell the truth, I don't know if it's the truth.
So sidebar. Do you think that